design. Today we are going to continue talking about how to design a very good research. We talked about abstracts, introduction, literature review, plagiarism. Now we are going deeper and deeper in the course and know how to start design our research. So today we are going to talk about refining research ideas and beginning to design your study. Well, now you have a topic in your head, and then we want to know what's next. So today's lecture is going to speak about this. This is our agenda for this lecture and the next two lectures. We are going to talk about I have a good idea, now what or what is next, research design elements, sample selection, comparison, control groups, one time versus many times, reducing confounds and bias. Maybe we are going to skip this bit because it's going to be complicated. Variables and operational definitions. These are going to be in the next lectures. Turning your research questions into, or turning your research question into a research hypothesis. So all of these agenda will be discussed in more details in the current lecture and in the next two lectures. So to recap what we said before, so you have a good idea. Well, a very good research topic, a good idea to start with. You realize that you could gather information to test the idea in some way. Well, after you find your research topic, you think, well, you are able to gather some information about it. And let's have the example of the acquisition of syntax by children. Well, you think, well, I have children around me, maybe my children, maybe my sister's children, maybe any other children, or I have access to kindergartens or whatsoever. So you have this privilege or this luxury or this access. So you think you can gather information about your topic. Well, this is a very good step, because it's not a good thing to have a very good idea but you cannot gather information about. This should be linked together. We have problems or ideas, we need to find data to test that idea. You did a literature search to confirm it is a good idea, that it hasn't been done well before. Well, yes, this is the step that we talked about in the previous lectures, that you did a literature review, you read about it in the literature, in the books, in the articles, and you found that this topic, either it has not been done before at all, which makes it a break-grounding topic, or it has not been done very well. You think you can do it in a better way. Now, what should I do to make it scientifically rigorous? Yes, you want to make your topic rigorous. That means well established and standing on hard ground. Research design and methods is what makes a good idea into a great research study. Yes, so the methods or the methodology of your research, which is the core of our course. This is why I'm going to devote 3 lectures for the research methods and design. And just to remind you that research method and the methodology and design is the 3rd or sometimes the 4th chapter in your study. You start with introduction, literature review. Normally, you would have methodology as the third chapter, where you talk about the methods that you use, the population, and everything that we are going to talk about today. Elements of research design. One element of research design is the sample or the population or the subjects. It depends. If you are going to conduct your study on humans, then you have subjects or population. If you are going to conduct your study on plants, on chemical materials, it is called sample. And also, sample is called for humans and population. So, what we gather here that we have different synonyms for the word sample, subjects, population of your study. In your study, you always target certain people. And let's go to the example of the acquisition of a grammar or syntax by children. So, the sample here in this study is whom? Children? Yes. Children is your population or your sample. But you need sometimes to refine your subjects. So you say, oh, well, I want only children whose native language is not English. So I want EFL or ESL learners whom mother tongue is not English. So you start to refine the characteristics of your sample. And then we are going to select from this population, because you cannot, by all means, you cannot include all children of the whole world, or even all children from your society. You need to be selective, and there is a way to select, because if you select in a way that's not accepted, this is going to affect the results of your research. And we are going to talk about selection in a minute. So we have sample versus population. So you have a population and you select a sample from that population. It depends, as I said, that population could be sometimes humans, could be different things, could be societies. Social experts or social researchers, sometimes they target societies. Media, they target channels. So there is a population for every research. So we select a sample from that population. Sample determination or sample selection. Yes, this is very important. You need to use an acceptable selection method. Sometimes it can be random, and you need to justify why you want a random sample. It's like you just select without any intention. There are some researchers, because they want to find some good results, they are going to select some special cases. Well, I know that children is very good, I want to select him. Why? Because he's going to get me the results that I want. No, this is not acceptable at all. You need to be ethical, you need to be scientific, you need to be professional, and you need to accept the result that you are going to get from a randomized selected sample. Or sometimes you say, I am going to select the best children. Why? Because I am targeting only the best children. I don't want the lower proficient children. So your selection determination is linked to a justifiable reason. You need to justify the selection, and the justification should be reasonable and should be linked to your research objectives. My objective to target, for example, the low achievement children, because I want to help them to learn the language. So I'm targeting only the low proficient students. Well, this is fine because this is linked to your research objective. But let's say that you want to use, for example, a new technique to teach grammar. Like, for example, you want to use computers. And you want to prove that computers are very good in teaching grammar. Why? Because you think so. Because this is your idea. And you want to advocate this idea. So you start to select sample that who will agree with you. Sample from the good students. So just to prove to your readers that, well, you see, from the results of these students in the grammar course, you see, because I used computers, their scores were high. Well, no. I have a question, or I have some doubts about your results. Why? Because the selection of your sample is not accurate and is not scientific. One way to fix this problem is to ask that researcher to have two groups of students. One is called the experimental group, where you give them the computers to learn grammar, and another group where you don't give them computers, which is called the control group, and then you compare the achievement of the two students. This is the scientific way to do it. So what group population is your research idea about? So we know the population and then we select from them. If it is about people in general, then it does not matter who you sample. Yes, so if you are targeting people in general, all people, it does not matter who you sample. You can select everyone. But let's say that you are targeting academics. Well, then your population is academics. You cannot go to engineers. You cannot go to barbers. You cannot go to media people. Why? Because you are targeting academics. Is it about a particular type of person, age, group, cultural, sex and gender, clinical group, occupation? So again, you need to specify the population. Are you targeting, for example, the age group, as I said, children? Type of person, academics, for example. Culture, are you comparing two cultures, for example, or targeting only one culture? Gender, are you comparing males and females, or only targeting, for example, females? A clinical group, this is for medical people. Maybe you want to compare two types of clinical groups. Occupation, again, are you academics, engineers, teachers versus administrators, and etc. Inclusion and exclusion criteria specified. Yes, again, you need to specify, as I said, you need to specify why you included these samples and why you excluded the other sample. All of these you need to specify them, and you need to be clear about. You have and you must mention this in your research, or before you need to decide about the criteria so you can select your sample. Sample recruitment. It's called recruitment because sometimes you need to recruit sample. You need sometimes to pay for them to participate in your research. Where will you get the data from that group? As I said, you need to specify where. Are you going to school? Are you going to look for them in streets? Are you going to their homes? own organization versus other organization, and this is very important. Are you going to conduct the study in your own organization? If you are a teacher, are you going to conduct this in your school, the school that you are teaching? Because it's different and difficult to go to other schools to conduct your study. Why? Because you have all the facilities, you have all the logistic support from your other colleagues, from your teachers, from your headmasters, and etc. So it's different sometimes to conduct a study in your organization from other organization, and it could be vice versa. Maybe you would find more difficulties in your own organization than in the other organizations. Do they have enough people there? Yes. This is this is very, very important. Let's go back to the example of the acquisition of grammar by children. Let's say that you decided on going to a certain kindergarten, but they only have 5 children. Do you think 5 is an enough sample size? No. You need to determine a size that can be a representative sample of your population. Let's say that you are targeting the Arab children. At least you need from 50 to 100 children to conduct your study. At least. And 100 still is not a representative sample. You need more. The more you involve, the more representation. But the more work, the more headache, and the more you expand your research. And as I said, we need to minimize or to reduce the scope of your research. Will the people be interested or motivated to participate in your research? This is very, very important, because if they are not motivated, or if they are not interested, they are not going to give you the information that you want. Maybe they are going to give you fake information just because they want to finish the study. One way to do it is to give them incentives. Some teachers give marks to students. Some researchers give money. They give some gifts, mobiles, pens, any kind of gifts, just to motivate people to participate in the research. How long will it take? This is very important. Are you willing to wait that long? Some research can, as we said in the previous lecture, can last for 5-7 years sometime. Are you willing to wait? Don't say yes now just because you want to say yes. No. Think about it. Will you need to compensate them? As we said, sometimes you give them money to compensate them. Elements of research design, data format. Well, now we selected the sample. We need to start collecting data from them. And we need to specify the format, the shape, the form of the data. Is it going to come to us in the shape of questionnaires, interviews? We have different methods. We are not going to talk about them in detail because this course is just a basic course. And if you need more to know about these methods, I welcome your emails. I can give you a lot of references, a lot of guidance in how to select the best method. So we have questionnaires, number 1. We have interviews. Sometimes we have observations. Sometimes we have a newly established method which is called Think Aloud. Think Aloud is simply you ask your participants to think aloud. You give them a task, let's say a vocabulary test, and you ask them, while you are answering the test, please think aloud. Something like when you take the exam, you say, well, I have the first question. The first question is blah, 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 blah. Let me think. Something like this. You ask your participants to think aloud, to speak aloud any idea that comes to his mind. So questionnaire, standardized versus survey. Standardized mean that when you design your questionnaire, it should be either taken from a well-known source. There are some certain standardized questionnaires that were checked by experts for errors, not only language errors, but for knowledge and information errors. They are checked that each item in the questionnaire 100% gives the information that we want. Because writing a questionnaire is not a toy, or it's not something that's easy to be done. You need to be careful in designing your research. This is versus survey. In a survey, you can, because you want to get some general information, it's okay that you design your own survey. How do you like to learn English in school, home, internet, blah blah blah. This information is called or taken from surveys. But standardized questionnaire, no. They are well written by experts and checked by experts, and there are some validated, reliable questionnaires that you can refer to in the literature, and you can say, well, I will adopt blah blah blah, Bloom's, Cohen, Weird's questionnaire. Some well-known people who design and who are more expert than you in designing questionnaires. Interview, individual versus focus group. We have different types of interviews. This is one of them: individual, one-to-one interview, or with a group. Sometimes we have structured interview. A structured interview is the interview where you have a set of questions, 10, 15, sometimes 6, 7 questions, and you want the answers from them, and that's it. You don't need more information than the predefined questions that you prepared for your interviewees. This is called a structured interview. This is unlike the semi-structured interview. The semi-structured interview, you have some questions, but as you question the interview, you can ask them more questions, like why. You ask them, do you like English? They would say, yes. Why do you like English? And they say, well, because I want to go abroad to study in America. And then you start to ask, well, why America? All of these why and why America is not in the list of questions. And this is why it's called semi-structured interview. In a structured interview, you would ask them, do you like English? Yes. How long have you been learning English? Well, 5 years. And that's it. You don't ask more questions than the ones in your list. This is for the structured interview. Semi-structured, no. You have the flexibility to ask more questions. And the difference between the two, depending on your research objectives. Because you only want the answers for these questions, then go for the structured interview. If you want to explore more ideas, more information, go for the semi-structured interview. Interviewer observer rating scale. In an interview, you need someone to observe the interview for you, just to measure that you are fair with the interview, just to measure the validity of the questions and reliability of your questions. So sometimes you need someone to sit just to observe the interview. Retrospective chart reviews. Well, this is something that we can skip. Continuous versus categorical data, means versus frequencies. Also, we are going to skip this for the time being because this has to deal with results, and we are going to talk about results in later lectures. Data format affects statistics, interpretive methods you use, qualitative versus quantitative methods. And this is something that we mentioned before. Depending on your method, it's going to affect the way you are going to interpret your results. If you have, for example, questionnaires, normally questionnaires leads you to numbers, so you are going to quantitative methods. With interviews, observation, they lead you to more of qualitative results or qualitative methods. Why? Because in interviews you don't deal with numbers, you deal with information, with data, and you start to analyze them and find some interesting results. That's it for today. We are going to continue the same subject next lecture. Thank you for attending and watching and listening.